reality about the physical location of Orange, because we don't live on a river. It's not Bathurst. It doesn't have a large Chifley Dam in the Macquarie River. It's not Dubbo. It doesn't have Burrendong Dam sitting above it, and it doesn't have Dubbo's got a lot of groundwater as well. So it's a reality about the physical location of Orange. The same circumstance may well apply to the pipeline, because under those circumstances, flow in the Macquarie River is extremely low as well. So all these things are kind of interconnected. You can't say that, well, you won't be able to harvest any water via the stormwater system because of low flows, when the same thing's actually happening to the Macquarie River. And under those circumstances, the Macquarie River is even more vulnerable to those extractions, and particularly the ecology of the river would be even more vulnerable. So under those circumstances, the potential impact that the pipeline would have on the Macquarie River would be actually most severe.
More severe than the stormwater harvesting itself?
Yeah, the stormwater harvesting's well upstream. One of the main issues with the pipeline is the actual location of the pump site. And it's actually in quite a sensitive part of the Macquarie River. It's known as an area for the endangered trout cod, and the trout cod doesn't occur where the stormwater harvesting areas are at. It only occurs in that particular section of the Macquarie River. Trout cod used to be native to that part of the river. They became locally extinct because of various activities that have happened over time. But now they have been reintroduced, and quite a lot of community effort has gone into reintroducing those trout cod into those areas. Well, there's still the flow regime impact. So once again, if you're taking water from the Macquarie River, presumably it's got to be someplace in the vicinity. They can't move it too far, otherwise it gets much more expensive. So there's the cost element. But the only way that they could go would be upstream, and then you still have the downstream impact. So if you're actually removing water, particularly at the low flows, the proposal at this stage is to be pumping at flows above 30 megaliters a day. Well, 30 megaliters a day is actually quite a low flow, which a lot of the community groups have been trying to point out to council. That's actually quite a low flow, and that flow impact of that flow would actually extend right down to Burrendong Dam, which once again is the trout cod habitat. Well, it's about who actually gets engaged in the process and at what stage. The whole pipeline proposal has largely been held within council, even though it's been talked about within Orange. It hasn't been talked about more widely, and it hasn't been talked about the types of conditions under which the water would be pumped. And that once you actually start talking about particularly this 30 megaliter a day flow, that's a real concern to the people. And these are people who actually live on the river, so they're not. Some of the people are actually outside the river, and some are at Dubbo, and some are broader environmental interest groups. But the main group that are really concerned about that section of the river and its impact on the river and the habitat of the river are people who actually live on that river and have lived there for generations. Of all the projects that are on Council's agenda for water supply security, this is the most expensive and the most environmentally damaging, not only to the river, but it's going to be along the pipeline route. So this is actually going to damage the environment and landholders who live along the pipeline route. It has potential to be quite adverse, both to the environment, but also to their day-to-day activities. As well as that, there's just the pure and simple capital cost. Council keeps saying 47 million plus or minus 10%, so we could conceivably say over $50 million just to construct the project, and then at least $1.5 million probably into today's dollars to actually run the scheme to pump the water. That's a very expensive project, and it deserves to be seriously examined. It shouldn't actually be pushed down people's throats, which is the feeling that we as as concerned community groups. Council's just gone and made up its mind it's going to do the pipeline regardless. And that's part of the problem. For example, that $8 million, if you could spend it on other options that provide similar sorts of volumes of water or provide the water security for Orange, that's even well better spent, and particularly if it doesn't involve the operating costs. One of the real issues with this pipeline proposal is that it's going to be here forever, and the people of Orange will be paying for its use forever. And we're proposing other options that, including more use of the stormwater harvesting schemes that are effectively already in place. We congratulate Council on pursuing the stormwater harvesting schemes. It was hard work at the time. There was a lot of opposition to it, but it's quite innovative. A lot of the opposition was not necessarily local opposition. It was from higher authorities who said, no, the stormwater won't be of sufficient quality, and you can't put it into your potable supply because of the quality issues. Well, Council, to their credit, continued to pursue that, and it's been proven to work. The same thing with enlarging Suma Park Dam, which, once again, we've been pursuing that option for quite some time. We are glad that Council recently has decided to pursue the Suma Park Dam raising option. Maybe it doesn't realize a lot of water for the secure yield, but nevertheless, maybe some of these smaller projects that have less capital expenditure but have even less operating expenditure are the way to solve the problem rather than the big solution. No, and the reason for that is that, as I alluded to before, that the access to water under those circumstances in the Macquarie River may be quite limited. Now, the pipeline will put more water into Suma Park Dam than what we've currently got now. It will increase the secure yield, no doubt whatsoever. But I mean, what sort of drought are we talking about? You know, even Sydney with the desalination plant has access to the ocean, so that's guaranteed. You know, unless the ocean suddenly dry up and disappear. But you know, that's a different scenario to having access to a river which has a variable flow regime and quite low flows. So in reality, certainly the pipeline will secure Orange's water supply more so than where we are now. No argument there. No argument that we should, number one, and this is what our groups are about, is we want, number one, water security for Orange. That is a non-negotiable. Our argument is that we believe that it can be satisfied through other options that are less costly and less environmentally damaging.